demystification of education and learning and demystifying learning. Therefore, I take every opportunity like this one to do it. So I'm telling the listeners that do not think that I may be condescending in trying to explain or present certain information, but I subscribe to that theory that we tend to package information like how I have seen it recently, assuming that the masses do not have the capacity to understand it. So we package it. And therefore, persons like Caswell and yourselves and all the others you have had, and certainly not only within this forum, who seek to bring information to the public and tell you, here it is, we've demystified it. We have sought to deconstruct it so you can construct it and reconstruct it and for your best suited for your needs. Another example, in 2018, I am telling you why my frustration with politicians and how they treat my people. In 2018, I was part of that bold group of persons who went out under Solutions Barbados to face the electorate. I went to St. Philip North, my home place, church village. And so in my 10 days or so leading up to election, it was that short, short response. I went to the shop run by the late Fox Pinder. That name will be familiar to some. I sat in that establishment with the young men. It was like school, Marcy and Catswell. Word got around that a woman in here and the same Fox, he wasn't there. Somebody sent him a message and he came quickly. And I sat with them and I sought to educate them. And one of the things was on the IMF. And they were all going with Mia. They were going to kick out the BLP. And they were bringing in Mia because Mia getting the money and Mia is going to get money and Mia going to help me. And you know what was the assumption? That there was this money that IMF was going to give and the money would be distributed amongst the people and everybody can get some of the money. And when I told them, I walked with little leaflets. And when we sat and read them together, my husband is here to tell you that it happened. When they asked me questions and they said, so that's what's going to happen. And I told them, it is like if you went to someone to buy a house and they said, I'm going to give you that house. I'm going to give you the money to rebuild that house. I'm going to give you the money to get that house. But you will have to put out your daughter. You will have to put out your grandmother. They come with certain conditions to give you that money. They will tell you how to spend it. And they will tell you what things you have that you must get rid of. Never mind how precious these things are. And you know what the same Fox painter said, but they don't tell me that. Where you come from now? You should have been about here before to educate. We do not educate persons. And I'm going to share some things on education reform that even shook me. My last scenario happened only last Thursday or Friday. No, Thursday. We were out and we decided to go to have a meal in the evening. And we saw a young school-aged boy. He told me he was in third form, peddling some wares. I'm not going to say exactly what because I don't want to pinpoint the young man. I said, "You are out from school very early." He said, "I didn't go to school today." I said, "Why? Wasn't there any school?" He said, "No, ma'am," very polite. He had a trolley that he had bought from a supermarket nearby. "No, ma'am, um, I didn't go to school today. I am out selling these items to raise money to get school uniform. I only have one set of school uniform, shirt and pants. And I miss school some days when that is dirty and I can't, you can't get it dry safe for the next day. And I am only able to go to school um, more than once when I am able to wear my games clothes. I and he said that pair came from a charity, and that broke my heart and my husband's heart. I gave him 50, he said, "I'll give you $50 and buy the rest of your item." And he recoiled. He said, "I can't take that, ma'am, because my mother would wonder where I get that $50 from. But if you call her and explain to her, she will she will tell me what to do." I told him, "But I was going to ask you if there was any way I could speak to your mother before I give you this money." I spoke to her, and the story she gave me, they're talking about education reform fits these needs, fits the basic needs of our children: food, shelter, clothing, food, shelter, clothing. And she told me the story. She's not working. She has to take care of her two grandchildren because the mother has gone overseas to see if she can find work. Well qualified the mother, but can't get work here. And nowhere else, she only had one mouth to feed, she and her spouse. Now she has two little children to feed. We are talking education reform. Get to the basics. And on that, I'm saying demystify what you're bringing to the people. This whole proposal on education reform needs demystifying, needs to be presented without causing persons to have to read between the lines when you can't even read the lines. And so I am going to bring out what I call the Trojan horse. How many of you are familiar online? I know Caswell and Old Schooler would know about the Trojan horse. We would have studied, I've heard, I had that story told to us even at primary school. And for those of you who are not familiar, it is a story about how Greek soldiers built a wooden horse and packed themselves inside the horse to take the city of Troy, which was under a 10-year siege. There is a Trojan horse packed with I don't want to say soldiers, but packed with information that we need to undo the gut of that horse and get the information out. And so I did some research. I did some research starting with the manifesto. Caswell, you always say that the political parties and those who form government should be assessed on what they said in the manifesto. You're always saying that, right, Caswell? Right? Um, so I look for evidence because I want us to locate where this education reform is coming from. Somebody said, Mrs. Corbin, I'm familiar with the Trojan horse. Thank you. And you are only 25 years old, right? Good. And the 2018 manifesto, which the title Building the Best Barbados Together, came in two parts. And class be engaged now. This is a true and false or tick off. You could tick off to see if they delivered, right? And it was called Building the Best Barbados Together, and it was presented in two parts. Part one was called Our Urgent Agenda, Mission Critical. Our urgent agenda, mission critical, and they were supposed to do these things in the first 6 months to rescue us from the loss. They call it the lost decade. So they were finding the loss, what we lost in those 10 years, and they were going to solve it in 6 months. So classroom, this is the teacher now here. Classroom, tell me if this has occurred. One, rebuilding our foreign reserves. Two, dealing with debt. Three, bringing tax relief. I wish Kima were here. Threats to the financial services sector. Helping people to live because Barbadians cannot now pay their bills to make ends meet. And the BLP believes that all Barbadians must be able to support their families and live with dignity. Six, arrears and refunds. Citizens and companies have severe cash flow challenges, partly because government will not pay what it owes. Take that. Has that been achieved as well? Protecting people's health. Are you saying it? I am reading it, and as a good facilitator who seeks to demystify knowledge, I am telling my audience out there in my classroom, you can take and tell me if these were achieved. I am doing this to give you the bedrock of the proposed changes in education. 7, protecting people's health. 8, our sewage systems must work as well. The guy work now with this water proposal. Our sewage systems must work. Getting rid of garbage, number 9. 10, putting buses back on the roads. 11, repairing our roads. 12, alleviating water woes. 13, citizen safety and well-being. 14, empowering young people. We must and will preserve our future generations and empower them to have the best quality of life our country can give them. This is how they propose. I'm elaborating on this because this spoke to the education also. An immediate plan of action to end the current epidemic of violence in schools. Take that. Has that been achieved? 2018 until 2023.
Springer.
I'm going to put you on my class, Mr. Franklin. Right? The next one, address violence and bullying among school children by placing more guidance counselors and social workers and starting anger management and conflict resolutions in classes by September 2018. Has that happened? And we are talking what? Education reform. That ambitious. Somebody says, well, if that is what is in their manifesto, then they get a failing grade 100 times over. You all got grade them. I'm just a teacher giving you the exam paper. All right. They said they would engage civil society and faith-based organizations to support school programs targeting at reducing conflict, bullying, and indiscipline, equipping students to deal with, somebody said we're still waiting, equipping students to deal with anger and conflict in non-violent ways and to reduce the incidence of violence in schools. Ensure a reliable and timely school bus service. And from September 2018, placing safety officers on buses and at places where students and young people congregate in large numbers. This is from the 2018 BLP manifesto. Tell me if these were achieved. Continue number 15, stamping out corruption. 16, the sugar industry and workers. And 17, preparing for natural disasters. That's in the 2018 manifesto on education. Continuing, this manifesto is constructed on the fundamental belief that all of our children are precious. We don't know that. A gift to their parents, we know that, their families, and to our nation. The manifesto speaks to ensuring appropriate education and training for children to live happy, fulfilling lives, and our young people to be world-class citizens, grounded in Barbadian values, using their skills to showcase what Barbados has to offer. Build the Barbados brand. I don't have time to talk about that. What is that? And support themselves and benefit our country. In that proposal, 2018, we heard secondary schools will become centers of excellence for both traditional disciplines, including the arts and sciences and technical and creative disciplines. This is intended to give students genuine and beneficial choices and wider career options and remove any sense of failure. Somebody, don't put up that word here. I'm going to say on my class who put up that. And remove any sense of failure attached to pursuing a non-academic path. See where they are leading us. And at the end, they said, while we have embarked on reforms in the past, reform in education is a generational project and cannot be started and stopped at will. I'm coming back to another reform project that happened before 2018.